మెకానికల్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ చదువుకున్న శ్రీ కన్నన్ సుందరం ప్రసిద్ధ తమిళ రచయిత సుందరరామస్వామి గారి కుమారుడు. కాలచువడు పబ్లికేషన్స్ అనే సంస్థను నాగర్కోయిల్ పట్టణంలో స్థాపించి గత 25 ఏళ్లుగా విజయవంతంగా నిర్వహిస్తున్నారు. ఇప్పటిదాకా 1000కి పైగా పుస్తకాలను ప్రచురించారు. తమిళ సాహిత్యానికి ఆయన చేసిన సేవలకు గుర్తింపుగా అనేక అవార్డులు అందుకున్నారు. 2021 సంవత్సరంలో ఫ్రాన్స్ ప్రభుత్వం ఆయనకు షెవాలియర్ అవార్డును ప్రదానం చేసింది. ఈ సంభాషణలో భాగంగా పుస్తక ప్రచురణ గురించి, పుస్తకాలను పాఠకులకు దగ్గరగా చేర్చడం గురించి, ప్రచురణ రంగంలో వస్తున్న అనేక మార్పుల గురించి, యువతకు పుస్తకాలపై ఆసక్తి గురించి మాట్లాడారు. ఈ సంభాషణ ఇంగ్లీష్లో పాడ్కాస్ట్ చేయడం జరుగుతోంది. Good evening, Kannan sir. Welcome to our podcast, Harshaneeyam.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to meet you.
You are a graduate in mechanical engineering, and after graduation, you entered into your family business. I believe that is textiles.
That's right. That's right.
Now, after 28 years, you run one of the most successful independent publishing houses, that is Kalachivadu Padipagam, from Nagarkoil, interestingly, not from Chennai.
That's so.
And you have introduced many new and young writers to Tamil. In fact, one of the writers that you have introduced, Perumal Murugan, his book is shortlisted for Booker this year.
That's true, but Perumal Murugan is not writer I introduced. He started writing before the publication started. But we met along the way and then we have been traveling together.
And one more writer is Salma, I guess.
Yeah, Salma came to writing through Kalachivadu, that is true.
So how did it all happen?
So the first part of being an engineering graduate, so I should say that that's only a formality. I don't think I learned any real engineering. I am what you can call a engineering useless graduate. So my interest since I was my teenage has been with the print media, and I started reading both Tamil and English magazines, newspapers since, let us say, from my 11th age or 12th age, and that created a lot of interest in this journalism for me. So when I finished my schooling, I should have gone to learn something about journalism. But in those days, we didn't, either there were no such courses or we had no such awareness. The usual question is that, you might also know that they ask you is that are you going to be a doctor or an engineer? So since medicine was out of question, I thought, also it was time to leave home for some years. And I decided to take up an engineering course in Bangalore. And I went to Bangalore. And so since Bangalore was quite a developing metropolitan city, it was a good place for me to learn on my own about print media. All the magazines were available, newspapers were available in Bangalore, not only Indian magazines but also international magazines. There are some good libraries. I spent a lot of time in British Council Library, probably more than my college. And so that gave me an awareness of what a print magazine can be. So in Tamil, we had this tradition of small magazines. That is, those magazines that are very consciously small in number, and they try to create an impact. That started in 1959 with a magazine called Eluthu. So these magazines, they focus on literature and sometimes translation, sometimes folk art, sometimes sociology, theater, whatever may be their passion. They were small in number, but they tried to create an impact within the culture on their area of interest. A lot of these magazines were mostly literary magazines, trying to, let us say, create a new poetry in Tamil, or a focus on short stories, or on translations, how to translate, and so many articles on literature, literary criticism. And but I was a reader of those magazines. In the current times, I was reading, but also a reader of those back volumes, bound volumes. From the earliest magazine. I went through them, and I thought there is a need to create a serious magazine that is much more than what a small magazine will publish. Small magazines, I felt the framework was a little limited, and there was possibility to do much more outside that framework. That came from my exposure I had in Bangalore with the media. My father, as you know, is a writer, but he in 1980s he wanted to create a impact in the Tamil world of ideas and literature, and he was encouraging many people around him to start a magazine because the small magazine movement that started in 1959 was sort of losing steam in the 80s. And so he was encouraging constantly people around him to start a magazine. And some magazines did come about, but they also didn't continue. And I think, as a final act of desperation in 1988, he launched his own magazine that was called Achod. He brought about 8 numbers. And then he felt that, that he is probably not the right person to run a magazine. And that it was also having a negative impact on him as a writer. And so after 8 issues quarterly, he wound up the magazine. And by 1989, I think I came back to Nagarkoil. By the time the magazine was already over. But so he wanted to, there are some pending subscriptions, some accounting issues, and all that. So to clear all that, he decided to publish a final annual number and clear up all the accounts. I was part of that process of publishing that number, which finally came out in 1991. So that was the first time that something using the modern technology, DTP technology, digital printing, offset printing. That was how it was printed. So that was quite new to Tamil in 1991. But that gave me an exposure of all these technologies. They were not available in Nagarkoil, but we traveled to Chennai or wherever they were available and did that work. That was my, let's say, first exposure with that. But so by 1993, I had I had sort of proved to myself and probably to my family that I can run this business of the family business of textiles profitably. So then I thought it is time to talk to my father about my passion of running a magazine. And so he was non-committal. I think he was not very enthused about the idea, but he didn't want to stop me. He formally changed the magazine of Kalachod to my name by registering it, and then he left it at that. So again, it was started as a quarterly, the same name but a completely different format. And so the magazine came out very well. It was very well received. It created a good impact immediately. And we also sort of, even as a quarterly, we tried to market the magazine in magazine stalls, which was not the case for small magazine. They will only send subscribers and a very limited number of bookshops. But we thought we should take it further, and we started marketing the magazine to the bookshops with cover in multicolor printing and all that. And after 4 or 5 years, we made into a bi-monthly magazine. Then after 10 years, we made into a monthly magazine. This still continues to be a monthly magazine.
As far as the content of the magazine is concerned, have you made any changes to the content?
So, like I said, the content of the magazine was, we didn't call it a small magazine very consciously from the beginning of our journey. We started to use a more term similar to a serious magazine because we didn't decide it to be a small magazine. We wanted to make it as big as possible, but not dilute the content. So our content was, of course, literature, literary criticism, lot of discussions on all aspects of society, and we were also open to publishing anything that is sound and interesting. For example, one of the very successful things we did very early was that we published a long interview with a migrant worker, a woman who will go to wherever construction is happening, a dam here or a highway there. And so what is her life like? That is not something that will either come into a popular magazine's purview or even a small magazine's purview. So those are things that we try to do in our magazine. And so it was very well received immediately. And around that time, by 1995, we also felt that my father was by then, I'll say, 64, 65 years old. And he had a publisher who was very high quality publisher. But he kept only one or two of his titles in print at any given time. Not very good, let's say, in marketing or in those aspects. So he was also getting impatient to get all his titles in print, also to write more and see them in print. And the pace at which the publisher was publishing was not encouraging to him at all. So we just thought of why not, now that, one of the reasons that we could do from Nagarkoil itself was that by then DTP technology had come into the picture. So that means we could compose the magazine wherever we are and then send it to a press where it can be printed. We didn't have to be near the press. We can do the proofing. We can do the final layout and then send it to the press. So that the technology that made this possible. Now that we are familiar with the technology, why not publish his books and make them available to the readers? So we started this publications. I started these publications in 1995. And the first titles, both of them Sundaram, his first novel, or Puliyamarthan Kadai, and his complete collection of poetry, 107 poems. So they were both published in 1996. Again, they were quite well received. But at this point, my business was textiles. This was like a hobby, something that I did in my own time. So in 1998, we brought out 4 books. Sundar Ramaswamy's third novel, the last novel. And then we also published about 400-page collection of uncollected works of Pudme Pittar, who passed away in 1948. But by 1998, we had, through our crossover magazine and also working with our friends, we had discovered about 400 uncollected pages. Some of them unpublished, some of them loosely in magazines, but not collected into a volume. So there was a lot of interest in Pudme Pittar, which we discovered when we published these items in our magazine. There was a huge response from readers. So we put them together as a book. And like this, 4 books we published in 1998. And I think that event, which was widely reported in the press, very widely reported. In fact, a Delhi newspaper called Dinamani, so probably one of the oldest papers in Tamil. It's the Indian Express Group's Tamil paper. They published the report with 4 photographs in the front page.
Front page?
The front page. Carrying on into the inner page. And many magazines, the reason was that, though nobody realized it, that we had tapped onto something that was brewing in Tamil culture. We had no idea that we are going to do something very momentous. We just traveled from Nagarkoil to Chennai, booked a hall, and went to the bookstore. But when we reached there, we realized that the thing was jam-packed. All the chairs were full, standing space was full. People are overflowing into the hall, and some of them were standing in the staircases, trying to get it. And on those 4 titles, within the morning 2.5 hours, though we were completely unprepared for this, we didn't have the people to do this, we sold books for nearly 50,000 rupees. So all the important writers were there, publishers were there, media people were there. So everybody realized that something is happening here. Everybody gained some confidence that, that something momentous has happened. And so I think that gave a sort of a boost to the entire publishing industry. So that it was not all planned, not all anticipated either, but it turned out that way. And obviously it gave us a lot of energy. Also gave us money, the possibility of bringing back money and reinvesting in the books, and also create a brand name for the publishing house and the magazine almost immediately within 2-3 years as a major force. We at that time we didn't even have 10 titles in our list. And around the time, then we also moved past Sundaram Ramaswamy and started publishing good quality editions of modernist Tamil writers, which we carried on for the next 4 or 5 years before we came to publish contemporary writing. So that's how we started. Yeah.
It started with father's books, publishing father's books.
And then moved on to publishing other modernist writers, what do you call, classical writers of 20th century. And then we also then moved on to contemporary writing.
Contemporary. So when you came into contemporary writing, obviously there has to be a process where you decide what type of books that you are going to publish.
Yeah.
How do you select which books to publish, and can you take us through that process of selecting a book to publish?
So initially it was easy. Like I said, we were probably focusing on classics. So we didn't have to ask anybody. They were accepted writers, great writers. So we went on to publish some of their works. So every time we pick a writer, what we did was right from the beginning that we will do a thorough research on the writer, go through all the magazines he wrote, discover what has not been collected, see if there is anything unpublished available. So work on that for 2-3 years. And then when we come out with an edition, it will be an authentic, complete edition. So that kind of brand we were creating right from the beginning. First, we published a very important writer called G. Nagarajan. So when we came out with this edition, it was a complete edition of G. Nagarajan, which was very well edited, very, very produced, very well proofread. And a reader can carry it proudly and read it with authenticity without being worried about is this correct or wrong. So well edited volumes. So those created names for us. So when the year 2000 came, we realized that in every field of Tamil and in all fields of technology everywhere, people were having these conferences where they were taking assessment of the last 100 years in their own field. So we thought, why not do that for Tamil industry? And by 1997-98, internet also came to Nagarkoil. That means we started getting small way connected to the world through emails. Again, already, of course, telephone technology was completely expanding in a very huge manner. And so without realizing it, we had started this magazine and the publishing at a time when things were happening in India. It was post-liberalized economy, post-telephonic communication revolution. Huge things happening in publishing technology, printing technology. All that was happening in the 1990s when we came into, and of course those things all played in our favor as we grew. So in 2000, we organized an international Tamil conference for 3 days in Chennai with the 2 parallel sessions, completely with private funding, no government support at all, either state or central government. So that was organized in Chennai. That means immediately our network expanded into an international scale because Tamils were there in Sri Lanka, Singapore, Malaysia, they all came. And because of the civil war in Sri Lanka, there was a huge immigrant population across the globe. They also came to the conference. That means our network also immediately improved into the Tamil world, but on an international scale. So that is again second most important development. The third thing I would say is that around that conference happened, we also released another 8 books. The day before the conference started, again good response. And so 2002 January, for the first time we came to Chennai Book Fair and took up a stand. Same year in February, my friend invited me to come and take a stand at the World Book Fair in New Delhi. He said, you come, you can stay with me and we will do this together. So I went to Delhi immediately. So January I'm in Chennai, February I'm in Delhi. So that was another completely mind-blowing exposure for me to be in Delhi, Pagadi Maita, to look at the book fair there and happening in 12 halls then, and to see books in 26 languages in one space. And, and all those international stalls, things happening. So walking around, looking at stuff, huge learning experience. So that exposure brought me into a sort of a national level of understanding of publishing. And through New Delhi, from what I learned in New Delhi, through the contacts I developed in New Delhi, then I had the opportunity to go to Frankfurt in 2007. So that is how this various aspects of this journey happen.
If a new book comes which is yet to be published, right? What is the process? How do you evaluate how good the book is? What is the total process before you decide that okay, this is publish worthy?
Okay. So what I'm going to say is that how I work. This is not recommendation for how others should work. Because I'm not trying to promote a successful business model here. Just because it worked, because it worked for me, this is not going to work for somebody else. Because I come from a unique background. I had a huge figure like my father backing me up. There was a lot of social capital in the name of Sundaram Ramaswamy, and it was a hobby for me, not my breadwinning proposal. Uh, and so, like several reasons like that, I could make my own decisions, and this may or may not be duplicatable to other languages or regions or even within Tamil. So this is not a recommendation, and there's not a challenge to do it this way to any other person who wants to start a publishing house. It's just going to say how I work. The first thing is till now, from then to now on, what I don't do is that I don't decide a manuscript on whether it will sell or not. So that marketing team or marketing part of the publishing will never enter into the editorial process. So this is something that we follow. As far as I know, that no other publishing company, successful company, follows this model. Everybody has a very important takes a stake on the saleability of the book, which is also very important. But we don't do that. So again, like I said, I'm not recommending this, but this is how we work. And we will of course, we are known as a literary publishing house, but we also publish books on research, on some aspects of academics, grammar, medicine, psychology, theater, poetry, science. So if a good Tamil books comes to me from any field, I don't say no to it. I don't check to see how much will this book sell. Is it worth the time and effort we put into the book? We don't go by those scales. There are, of course, books that we will be selling a lot and making money on. But if a new book is coming, let us say, on a new field, because as you know, in many of our languages, when people go into a level of expertise, they lose touch with the mother tongue. So let us say now tomorrow, a biologist comes to me and says, I'm a very leading biologist, but I can write in Tamil. So shall I write about my field into Tamil? Shall I write about genetics in Tamil? I will say, please go ahead. We will publish it. I have published a book nearly 20 years ago on learning Chinese through Tamil. Because somebody came and told me, no, I was in Beijing, I learned some Chinese, and I can write this book. I said, go ahead. And then after that same person came to me with a book on translation of ancient Chinese poetry. And we worked and published the book. We realized that the first time from Chinese to Tamil, a book has come directly in all history of two ancient civilizations. The first time as a book has come directly. So, this is how we work. When something new, interesting idea comes up, first take it up, take it up, let us do it. And let's see where it leads. Sometimes it might surprise you with a good sale. Actually, the book on Chinese through Tamil sold quite well because we realized a lot of students are going from India to China to learn medicine. And the travel agents, they all packed one of these copies of this book with them, take this book with you. As you land in the airport, you can make a few noises in Chinese, take this book. So it was 30 rupees at that time. So they bought copies and gave it to all these students.
When you say book sold well, what are the number of copies that we are looking at?
So when you publish a book on, say, Chinese through Tamil, you don't expect any sales at all. So if it sells 1,000 copies, you're surprised.
Oh. Right.
that
Yeah.
that is an important thing, to publish something that is completely new.
Yeah.
And then so that's how we have been working until today. When I take up a book, I don't consider sales to as an aspect. I think it has worked for me. I think it has worked for me. And but what we do is that once we accept the book, then we will edit it properly. We'll make it accessible to the readers. We'll package it.
There is an interesting subject on which a new book is coming to you, right? And you say that, okay, this is a new theme nobody has dealt with, whether it's economics or genetics or whatever it is. Again, the quality of the content,
Yeah. So that is something. That's something that we refer it. We find a person who's an
yeah,
expert in that area through our network. Somebody we
yeah,
can trust. Maybe sometimes even two people at a time.
right,
Recently, we
right.
published a couple of books on economics. So then we give it to an economist we know and see, ask him to refer the book, refer the translation. So and then we publish that book. So now to publish a sound book on economics into Tamil,
Yeah,
and that is a huge step for a language. It creates new words
correct.
in Tamil for economics,
Yeah,
and to publish that book is very important. That the importance of the book goes beyond the sales. That is what I feel. When you publish a book in Tamil on economics, modern economics, the importance of the book goes beyond the sales of the book in one sense. So then we have to do it. And then once we take up that work, then we on the cover design to make the book accessible, to edit it well, to give it a very attractive title, to attractive cover, to market the book well, all that we do very commercially. Except the decision of publishing, then the whole thing will take into every aspect of to market the book in every way possible to us through social media, through book fairs, through our magazine, in every way possible, through organizing meetings. We will try our best to market the book. So those are two. So just because saying that we don't sit, relax in a chair, saying that we have published a great book. Now let the readers come and discover it. So I don't know. We have to take it to the readers. I believe in taking the book to the reader in every way possible. Taking the information about the book to the reader and making the book easily accessible to the reader. The reader wants to buy a book. There should be no difficulty for him. He can go to a website and order it. He can go to Amazon order it. He can order from he can go to the nearest bookshop and find it. He can download the ebook and read it immediately. On the same day we release the published print book, we'll do the ebook as well. And when the opportunity comes up, we will do an audio book. So every way possible, we want to make the book accessible to the reader. We don't want the reader to come to us. We don't want the reader to find the book, make an effort to do the book, walk 5 kilometers, show his interest or nothing of that sort. Take the book to the reader in every way possible. So that is another aspect of the that we take marketing very, very seriously.
so it's publisher's responsibility to see to it that it reaches the reader's hands.
I think absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely.
The writers need not do any of that job if they don't want to.
Yeah.
It is our job to do that. All that.
Okay. When a new book comes,
Mm-hmm.
what is your major channel of communication to the reader that the book has come? And of course, you have to talk about the content of the book as well to the reader, right? How do you do that?
Yeah, of course. Social media is one channel. Our own magazine is a channel.
What is the circulation of the magazine today? Across, I think it sells across the world, if I'm right.
Yeah, so no, it's not only a print magazine. Now we have also, for several years, it's also an online magazine with subscription.
Right.
The number of copies, number of readers may be more because one copy may be read by many. It's also going to libraries
Right.
across the
Right.
state, in public libraries, also schools and colleges, libraries. That means the readership will be more. But I will say 10,000 people subscribe it in different formats, as a print magazine, or buy a copy individually, subscribe online, or read through Maxter, and all those formats. So let's say 10,000. Yeah.
So when it comes to the question of publishing books on fiction,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
do you have any preference as to what kind of books that you want to, content wise, what kind of books that you would be interested in, Kalachudu would be interested in publishing?
Fiction, we publish only good quality fiction. We don't do any commercial fiction at all.
Right. How do you differentiate, sir, between commercial fiction and
By reading the text. By reading the text, yeah. The motivation of the text can be very. It can be very. It is always very transparent. What is the motivation of the writer? Also, that that if somebody wants to involve themselves in commercial writing, it is very unlikely they'll send a manuscript to us because our brand is quite well known. So it's only a theoretical possibility. Some bad books might come to us, which we will reject. But somebody who wants to be a successful commercial writer, I don't think they will ever send a manuscript to us.
now, you said regarding this
Mhm.
taking the book to the reader. Of course, the major channel of
Yeah.
communication is your magazine. And also, what is the role of these book fairs? How vibrant is the book fair culture in Tamil Nadu?
So when I first went to Chennai Book Fair, 2002, it was a very modest, small affair. So it was an open ground in an open space, two rows, shops, in a square side, maybe 100 stalls. So between the stalls, the sky was open, the open sky. So if it rains, it'll rain on the path kind of structure. Only the shops will be protected. And it happened usually in mid-January, first week of January. They were aiming at the Pongal holidays. And it was 10 days book fair. I think the book fair might have started somewhere in 1978 or 79. I'm not very sure. So around that time, the 25th year of the book fair came in 2004 or something like that, 5 or something. So using that number 25, there was a very dynamic publisher who was the president of the association at that time. He went to every media house in Chennai and promoted it as saying that the 25th anniversary he has to give us some coverage. And the media gave some coverage. And that means huge crowd started pouring into the book fair. It was held in the grounds of a college in central Chennai. Such huge crowds came. The college said next year you can't have the book fair here. There's too much for us to handle. So then they have to go and find a special place. And that was the first time the book fair really stepped up into the public imagination when book fair made news. So from then on, the media continually started covering the book fair. Um, and when the crowd started coming in, the politicians got interested. So the government got interested. So they said something here happening. So we also have to, show our face there. And so the government took some interest. So they will come and visit or do some stuff. And finally, a few years back, they also started giving some money to the book fair 4 or 5 years ago. Slowly, the book fair has become the major event in Tamil publishing industry's calendar. People are coming from all over the world now to the Chennai Book Fair. From all of the people are coming. Tamils are coming. Writers come. Book publishers come. Local cultural figures they come. It's a meeting place. It's a place to buy books. So it has. So as the book fair grew, Tamil publishing industry also grew because Chennai Book Fair became a way by which a publisher who has ideas but no capital can become a publisher through Chennai Book Fair in the sense that you can publish a book in December or in January and make some money immediately through Chennai Book Fair and repay your press bills. That means you can either publish without much capital or you can publish more than what your capital can actually publish. So Chennai Book Fair became a sort of a spine of the Tamil book publishing industry, and I think the industry has grown around the Chennai Book Fair. When that became very successful, a few other book fair also happened, like in Erode, in Coimbatore, Madurai, over the years. Now, this year, last year, the government has made official policy to hold a book fair in every district. That means at any given time in the year, 2 or 3 book fairs are happening somewhere in the state. So I think all this has brought a lot of dynamism into the book industry. The numbers are not very big even now. Numbers are not very big, but I think it is a very dynamic industry. It's a growing industry, and there is reason for optimism in Tamil publishing now. And I think Tamil is not a portion where it is worried about its existence now. It's a very confident language that we have a place, uh, and people love the language. There are enough people who can speak and read the language, and it is not going to. We are not worried that it's going to die or be destroyed, at any time soon. So, and it's also an international language. So, I think it's a time when many of us are feeling confident about the language, culture, and its future.
Sir, one more channel of communication with the reader about books is the traditional media, magazines and TV and all.
So, Tamil media gives very little space to the book culture. It's all taken up. Culture in Tamil means 98% Tamil movie culture.
Okay.
Let us say 95% movie culture, and 4% the other art forms like dance or Carnatic music.
Okay.
And publishing may get like something like 1%.
Okay.
So we can't depend on that space to survive as an industry.
Right.
We have to create our own, uh, find our own media, find our own ways to reach the reader. We get very little support from the mass media in informing the readers of new books. I'm not saying it's not that. There is a lot of interest, especially around the Chennai Book Fair. But and let us say when Sagitya Academy is announced, there is some attention.
Okay. Right.
But it is not it's not that there is no magazine, let's say, that will allow 2 or 3 pages in every issue for book reviews.
Even daily newspapers they don't do it, sir, in Tamil.
They do it. They do it in a very small way,
Okay.
not enough.
Not in.
Not enough to match the dynamism of the industry,
Okay.
the size of the industry, the dynamism of the industry, the dynamism of number of ideas that we create, the dynamism of the creativity that bring out every year. There is no comparison there. If what we require is a spreadsheet of on books every week, we get half page every week. In some dailies, in some dailies.
What is the state of literary criticism in Tamil, sir?
Um, I think after the arrival of social media,
Yeah.
mm, I think criticism seems to have taken a beating.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
you don't see very serious criticism like we used to before the before we were all linked through social media. I think now people are a little hesitant to do that because there's always this pushback, negative comments, responses, and personal enmity. Everybody knows everybody else through social media. So something new is happening. We'll have to wait and see how this is going to take shape. But right now, I'll say this is not a time for literary criticism in Tamil. See, I think there is a space for to share your views openly in social media, but you have to be ready for the pushback, for the responses, because people who don't agree, they will also share their views openly. So you have to take it. You don't have to necessarily respond to it, but you should be able to take it. And then you can engage. But getting into debate on social media can be very draining. I won't advise that for anybody, but you can express your views and then leave it at that. But for reasons that people, there are a lot of ways that people introduce books now in social media, but there is no serious criticism, I would say.
Now, in the books that you have published, when you have books published in fiction, right? What are the average numbers? If you say that finally you feel that it has sold well, right? What are the average numbers in
Numbers in
terms of
what per year
yeah, per year? Yes,
for a new book?
per new book. Yes.
So I will say if a new book sells 1,000 copies in a year, it is a fairly good sales. If it is 2,000 good sales, it's a very good sales. So what we look at is not that how many copies do they sell, the more number of books do they sell in the first year or what. But how we are viewing things now is that to create a strong list that will stay alive even when it goes to the backlist. So if all our books can sell 100 copies per year, we have 1,200 titles. That's huge sales for us.
Right, absolutely.
So, well, I will say that many of our books remain alive.
Okay,
There are many titles which will sell 100 copies, continue to sell 100 copies per year.
right.
With the new technology, it is possible for us to produce 100 copies
Yes.
and keep it in print. So that is how we view it. But there are also books on our list which will sell 4 or 5,000 copies per year.
When I read about the kind of books that you have published, it is not only that you are getting books into Tamil from other languages, and there are many published in foreign languages. You brought them into Tamil, right? How did it happen, and why did you choose to do it?
Like I said, when I went to New Delhi World Book Fair, I had the opportunity to learn about the Frankfurt Book Fair. I think that happened in 2004 when Frankfurt Book Fair people came to New Delhi Book Fair and put up a consultation space. So I went to consult with them. Then I learned about Frankfurt, and then I had this idea of why not go to Frankfurt. But I also realized that I mean, of course, you can take a flight and go to Frankfurt, but to make it more meaningful, you have to learn more about the how the international publishing industry works. So that process began through New Delhi World Book Fair, and so the first time um, I was going through the New Delhi World Book Fair catalog, and there was a entry there called Rights Hall, and I thought something about human rights is happening there. So I found some time to get away from my stand, and I went to that hall. So it was not a very active hall. NBT, now National Book Trust announces a lot of things, but not necessarily keeps them alive. So it was a empty hall, and some pamphlets were piled up on tables. So I went and picked a couple of them, and I saw a name called Rights Catalog. So I had no idea what does this mean, Rights Catalog. Then I started checking with my friends in New Delhi, and they said that this is a catalog where you select books from your catalog which you want to sell rights to other languages, and then you make a catalog for that. So that is the first time I realized that books are now having rights, that not just people. So then I started developing a rights catalog for my publication. So that means you have to prepare material in English, and when somebody asks for to read the book, you should have the English copy of the book available. Otherwise, there's no point in putting it in your rights catalog. So then I started searching for books that have been translated, talking to the writers, and then I slowly prepared a rights catalog. And by 2006, I heard that there is a program in Frankfurt called the Frankfurt Book Fair Fellowship Program, where they take international writers on a travel around Germany and then bring them to the Frankfurt Book Fair. So I applied for the program, and then the second time I applied, I got the program. I think till now, even very few, maybe one or two Indian language publishers have gone into the program. Mostly it is Indian English publishers who get selected. I was selected in 2007. So then I traveled to Frankfurt, Germany, and Frankfurt for the first time. But I realized that there's something very important is happening there. It's very exciting. So with a lot of difficulty, I continue to travel to Frankfurt every year from 2007 onwards. So I have not missed a year except for the COVID years. So that is where you meet world publishers, either buy the rights for their books. So we have brought translation from now over 30 international languages in all these years. And then through our rights catalog, we also sell rights for Tamil books. We have published them in UK, USA, France, Germany, China.
There is sufficient interest, you mean to say, for the books that have come out.
So selling books is very difficult. Buying book, of course, very easy because you give money, they take money, so they are very happy. That is. But most of the world languages they have an agency to promote translation of the literature. That is how they work internationally. But India has no such program. Right now, this year, Tamil Nadu government has announced something. It is coming up. You have to wait and see how that works. So, but India generally has no such program. That means very difficult to take Indian writing into the world. But it's because we continue to do that for the last 15 years, we have had some success.
Right.
Then after this controversy, Perumal Murugan became an international figure.
Okay.
That means it is easier to sell his books than other writers. Once you sell Perumal Murugan's book, then they might also become more interested in your language. Then the next book can be another writer's book. So that process goes on. It is not easy process, but it's exciting process.
Now, if you look back of this 3 decades, almost 3 decades of publishing, what do you see as the major differentiator for Kalachevadu? Major differentiator when you compare it to other publishing houses?
So we are, I think probably we are the only publishing house in Tamil who have taken Tamil works beyond Tamil, selling rights to English, to Malayalam, to Telugu, to Kannada, to Hindi, Bangla, and so many other Indian languages, also international languages. That has been kind of our unique project.
Are you getting books translated into Tamil from other southern languages, sir? South Indian languages?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think my feeling is that not just Kalachodu, I would say that more Telugu books would have come to Tamil from Telugu than the other way around. More Kannada books would have come to Tamil than the other way around. More Malayalam books would have come to Tamil than the other way around. So Tamil has been a language that is very open to translations. I can say the same for Bangla definitely, because Bangla only gives; it doesn't take anything from us. And again, Hindi also. So I think this is a very unique aspect of Tamil that people somehow fail to notice because uh, we sort of stand away from the mainstream of Indian nationalism. Very interesting aspect is that we translate more from the all other Indian languages than they translate from us.
Now, when it comes to the readership, right, there is a notion that now the English medium schools are all pervasive and people do prefer to read, the younger generation, they do prefer to read English than their own mother tongue.
So there are two things. Is English being promoted? Yes. Should English be promoted? Again, I will say yes. But should your mother tongue be promoted along with the English? Again, a very big yes. Is enough being done to promote our mother tongues along with English? I will say no. There is much more to be done. Not at the cost of English, but as an addition to English, there is much more that can be done. And should every student in a state learn that language compulsorily? I think they should. They should learn the language compulsorily. And but all that is not happening enough. That is true. What our Tamil education system now is doing is that they teach students the alphabets and some kind of reading with the alphabet. That is the limit of the education through formal system right now. I will say that Tamil movie industry has done more to teach Tamil than Tamil schools or colleges. You know, Ilayaraja or famous comedians, they have taken Tamil more actively than any school or college has done. And of course, I think the arrival of internet and social media is a huge boost to all our languages. Because wherever now you travel in the world, you can continue to keep contact with your culture. Because you're gone to America, that does not mean that you lose touch with Telugu. Not necessarily. You can choose to lose touch with Telugu, but you're not compelled to lose touch with Telugu. You can continue to read your paper every day. keep in touch, see what books I have coming out, read them online. So that option is open to you. So that is, I think that's also a very important factor. So there are two myths about the younger generation, which I don't agree at all with. One is that they don't read at all, you know, and that is of course complete hogwash. And because no media, no publishing industry survives based on retired people, retired people who are complaining on television and everywhere that extras don't read. We don't publish books for depending on their support because that's a fast dwindling population, and so that is a myth. Younger generation is reading very well. Otherwise, we will not see growth in our lifetime in publishing industry or in the media. Number two is that they don't read Tamil. The one thing I have done for last 25 years that every year I sit through Chennai Book Fair from day one to day last day. So that is my connection with the Tamil reading public. So if you come to my stand at any given time, you will find there are more youngsters than older people in the stand at any time. So huge numbers they come to read. But that reading unfortunately does not happen through our education system. It happens outside and post our education system. That is an unfortunate fact. If it can happen through our education system, this thing will be even tenfold bigger. Because our schools do not believe in reading outside textbooks. Our teachers do not believe in that. Our parents do not believe in that. So they all think it's a waste of time. So that aspect has to change. So only when after reading, after schooling, or after education is over, when students go into to work in any part of the culture, publishing industry or film industry or mass media or music industry, anywhere, they realize that they don't know anything to work with culture, and then they come back to books. That's when after they finish their education, they start reading. That's I will say.
The influx of technology as far as printed books are concerned, like now these days there are ebooks and audiobooks. Where do you think that printing of the book, the physical copy of the book, is going?
See that when you talk about the future of the book, we have to consider two aspects. What is publishing? What is a publishing house, and what is a book? So I will say a publishing house is a place where where ideas and experience come together, and what is expressed as either in the forms of ideas or as experience gets published. And when you publish a book of ideas, the reader gets an experience reading that book. And when you publish a book of experience, either a memoir or a novel, the reader might also get several ideas reading that book. So there is all this happening, all this chemistry happening within a publishing house. And publishing house is a place where you provoke ideas and provoke writing. Also facilitate writers and take their books to the readers. And publishing house also, I think, has a job of to give voice to the voiceless aspects of society. Maybe writers coming from the marginal spaces, maybe ideas that are not popular but important. And we also have to also publishers are people who in the most peaceful way possible create social transformation through ideas. And so earlier you asked the question about commercial, non-commercial things. So two things we focus on when we publish books is one is readability, the other is clarity. So when I say clarity, I do not mean simplicity. And when I say readability, I do not mean commercialism. So I want to make those differentiations, and so that's how we view our publishing. Now, coming to your question, which was about reading. So when you come from this space, now what we come to, that is what is a publisher. Now we have to see what a book is. When you see what a book is, I don't see book as a printed object. Book is the content that we create in the publishing house. Just because we publish that book, let us say as an e-book, it does not cease to be a book. And it's because it's an audio book, it does not cease to be a book. And so we have to change from the concept of book as being in a particular form or in paper or bound to see that we saw what is a publishing house. It is to see that is the content that we create from that publishing house. That is the book. The content can change forms depending on technology, and all these technologies, I don't think any of them threaten publishing. They're all supportive for publishing. That is what I have seen in as a publisher. So during the COVID phase, it became very difficult to transport the physical book. So e-book came at hand, and any people anywhere in the world could read a e-book, sitting in the safety of their own home. And you said there are your friends that who cannot read Telugu, but they understand Telugu. For them, like your podcast is very helpful. The audio book can be very helpful. So for somebody who's visually challenged, somebody who's old, somebody who travels a lot, somebody who can understand but cannot read, for all these people, they can reach a book through the audio format. And for somebody who's working in Antarctica, can read a Telugu book through an e-book if they have a Kindle. So these are huge, almost magical opportunities. Nothing short of magic.
You see that as a great opportunity.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
there's no question about that. And they all expand the market.
right.
It is very completely negative approach to see this as a threat. That this will threaten the book industry. So don't see book industry as a printed book industry. Publishing is not that. Publishing is a place where you create ideas you take the ideas to readers in any format possible. Tomorrow, technology might bring in a new format. We can be open to that. So, but practically, I have not seen any fall in the number of print books publishing. Like I said, there are more and more and more book fairs happening. Right now, there are 3 book fairs happening in Tamil Nadu, and there is no lack of crowd in those book fairs. With all the technology, with all the advancement, if you go into Paris Book Fair, you will not find place to stand and breathe. It is so packed. So that is not going to. It does not happen. Technology does not determine culture. That is very important aspect. So if there is a strong book culture, technology can have an impact on it. Yeah, definitely, it can change it, but it will not finally determine what is. That will be determined by the local culture. For example, technology had more impact in America, but less impact in Europe, even less impact in Asia. The difference here is how our culture reacts to technology. So those aspects are very important. So what I see is that through technology, there is a huge opportunity for, especially for Indian languages, more than anybody else. It's a very big opportunity for us through Amazon. A Telugu book can be bought anywhere in India, can be bought anywhere in Andhra. People don't have to travel to Hyderabad and come to a famous bookshop to buy a book. So those are big opportunities for us. And the Telugu IT worker working in Calcutta can access a book. We can go online, order a book and read. So these are huge opportunities, and the people you can see the impact of that opportunity. That nobody has to lose touch with their culture or community because they are traveling anywhere in the world. I think these are very big magical opportunities, and not something that you need to be frightened about, but you have to. So I think right now, as of now, I'm very positive about the impact of technology on publishing.
Your father, other than being a very, very successful and popular writer of serious fiction, poetry, or short stories, or novels, when I read about him, he came across as a man who is a very fiercely independent thinker
Mm.
who used to
Mm.
express
Yeah,
opinions.
yeah, yeah.
His world view and his life, right? His association, your
Mm.
association with him, how
Yeah.
do you think has changed the way you look at the whole thing?
See, broadly, all of us in Kalachode, the whole team, he is an inspiration figure for all of us.
Right.
And it's not necessary that we follow by everything he has said or we agree with everything he has said. But the basic tenets of, independence, free thinking, belief in freedom of expression, the passion to take Tamil to the world and bring the richness of the world to Tamil, both Indian languages and the international languages, and to stand by what you believe in, not and to try to operate in one sense, non-commercially. So I have to. That is a little tricky there because, like I said, that we make decision non-commercially, but after we make the decision, we do everything commercially possible to make successful the book. So that kind of approach we have, but the decisions are made very non-commercially to publish a book and to sort of to work and find the rightful place for Tamil writers, Tamil writing in the scheme of Tamil culture to you know to stand independent of politics, independent of Tamil movie culture, Tamil mass media culture, and find the rightful place for serious Tamil writing and the world of ideas. So all these concept I think basically came to all of us by our reading of Sundaram.
Now, there were also, cases where I am referring to the Perumal Murugan's book, right? It has created a huge controversy. What was it all about, and what was, Kalichuvadu's response to that?
So Perumal Murugan's controversy was the first time that this became an international affair. But we have been facing such issues right from the moment we started
Oh, okay.
because we don't do any censorship with writing. So that is a clear policy. We completely respect the right of expression of the writers. So that's a very simple literary axiom that I follow, which is nothing revolutionary, which was expressed by a very conservative writer from the 1930s called Kupa Rajagopalan, a very important short story writer. So it is, and you can say that is kind of Manikodi is it's a key magazine of the 1930s that brought out modern literature into focus in Tamil. And we can say that is the motto of the whole group. It's very simple in the sense that it'll say anything in life has a space in literature.
Beautiful. Good.
So if there is perversion in life, perversion will be expressed in literature. If there is sex in life, it will come out in literature. So whatever you see in life can be said in literature. So there is nothing is vulgar, nothing is censorable, nothing is not allowed. It is that it is a you can argue with the motivation of the writer. What is the motivation of the writer in saying this? Is he trying to sensationalize? Is he trying to sell more copies by this? Or is he trying to bring out life as it is? So when writers write about all aspects of society, it's obvious that some part of people will be very shocked and they will not like it. And I'm sure there are guardians of culture in Telugu. We have guardians of culture in Tamil also. Usually they are very unhappy people. They look for reasons to be unhappy guardians. So they want something to guard the culture from. So they were unhappy when the first time a kind of a boy with a flexible sexual identity was published as a short story in Kalachodu. 25 years ago, they were very unhappy with that. They thought it's very vulgar. Confused fluid sexual identity. A writer wrote about a character like that, not defining him as a him or her. So they were very upset with that. And then through Kalachodu, there was a sort of a new kind of woman writing in Tamil from Salma onwards, where people wrote boldly about their body and sexuality in their poems. Again, the Guardians were very upset about with women writing about all these things, and they threatened them. So we organized meetings. That's a very interesting documentary online called She Write. You can view it and see, learn about this contents. So we have been facing this all the time. With Burma Burgan, it became an international affair. But all the time we have the same response that we will stand with the writer for the right to express. That we are not going to either edit them or we are not going to back down by saying that we will not publish their works in the magazine or we'll withdraw the book. That has always been out of question.
Right. And finally, where do you see Kalachevudu Padipadam is going to be in the next 20 years?
So yeah, no such long-term plans. Next 20 years is a very long period. So it is to strengthen the space for Tamil writing, Tamil thinking, to bring into Tamil all aspects of science and culture, and to make Tamil literature part of Indian literary scene, also global literary scene as far as possible, and to publish more and more books. I think that's where we stand. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful talking to you. And
Okay, so it has been a pleasure talking to you. I'm glad we did this. Thank you. Bye.
thank you, sir.